All right. Good morning. This is Shobhit Bhutani here. Really excited to talk to you today about all the fabulous private AI innovations that we've done here at Broadcom over the course of last 1 year or so. So think about this presentation today as a roundup of all the phenomenal stuff we've done over last year. My name's Shobhit. Like I said, I work as the principal product marketing manager here at Broadcom. I lead all marketing leadership from a product perspective for private AI. And Darin, you want to take a second and introduce yourself?
Yep, my name is Darin Schmitz. I am a senior technical marketing engineer here at Broadcom, working with Shobhit on private AI.
Wonderful. Thank you, Darin. Excited to do this presentation with you. So we're going to have a lot of fun here, team, today. We're going to give you some really, really good technical stuff here. First, we'll kick this off, talk about what's the key importance of AI and generative AI. I mean, we all kind of know that by instinct these days, right? But we'll give you our Broadcom perspective, the challenges from a AI standpoint, how we're solving it in a partnership with NVIDIA. We'll walk you through some use cases, exciting innovations, like I said, in VCF 9, and then additional stuff that we announced at Explore last year. Then Darin's going to give us an exciting demo, and he's also going to talk about some very, very key and exciting capabilities. At the end, we're going to give you a sneak peek into some very exciting, cool stuff that's going to come in soon, right? So watch out for that. So with that, let's kick on. So from the standpoint of AI, right? Like I was saying, AI at this point is very, very well understood. The importance of AI is very well understood. But like I'm a marketer, I got to give you a big, scary, big number, right? That's part of my job. So from the standpoint of AI, the expectation is there's going to be $4.4 trillion of annual economic potential that McKinsey has projected. This is a couple of years old at this point. The numbers look even bigger, right, at this point, from everything we've seen. And AI is going to impact everything, right? From, basically from every department, every company, every department is going to get massive benefits out of it, right? So what does this 4.4 trillion number mean, really? It really means the value that the world is getting today from IT in general and from businesses. A total economic value is going to increase by almost 4.4 trillion incremental number. And the number seems huge, but honestly, we've seen even bigger projections from some of the latest stuff we've seen, right? Like way bigger than this, right? So if you are team not already marching on the journey of AI, you're missing out on some massive improvement opportunities. Because guess what? Your competitors are. If you're a vendor who's joined in to listen to our story here today, guess what? Your competitors are also pitching the same thing to the customers. So get on this journey right now. We in Broadcom and with NVIDIA, we strongly believe in this opportunity, and big things are going to come out of this. Now, as enterprises have told us about AI and all the benefits of AI, what we also hear from you guys is a bunch of different challenges that come from generative AI. The first of all is the challenge of privacy, right? To get AI to be able to do all the things you need to do, you need to ask questions, you need to give it data, right? To add to the models. Reality is when you do that, there's a whole bunch of issues that can come in. We've heard of several examples in which coding software was put into one of the biggest openly available AI models, right? And that led to that proprietary code getting into the AI model and generating a whole bunch of privacy issues, right? So privacy of your data, privacy of access. This AI model that you need to give it a lot of data, right? Needs to be very tightly controlled. Who's going to access it? Which department's going to access it? So there's a ton of privacy issues that come in. Cost remains always a big one, right? That's surprise. From an IT standpoint, we're all about cost, right? These models are very complex. they're costly to architect. And with new vendors and SaaS components, etc., and just bleeding edge AI software, cost remains a big concern for enterprises. Choice is a big one, right? Always. The large language model that you want to choose, right, is changing very quickly, right? From our standpoint, for example, we went from Llama 1, 2, 3 within very quickly the different versions of Llama within a year. Right now, ChatGPT OSS, now that open source one is getting a lot of traction. And from our standpoint, right, we believe that a broad ecosystem is the future of AI, and variety of choices of vendors and LLMs is very essential. Performance remains a big one, right? These LLMs and these AI models require massive amounts of infrastructural sources, whether you're doing fine-tuning, customizing, deploying, or querying, right? These can be very intensive. Scaling can be very challenging without access to adequate resources. The efficient allocation and balancing of hardware like GPUs, etc., across the organization is critical, right? So that you get top level performance and low latency. Compliance remains a big one. This is going to really appeal to our European audience, right? From a European perspective, there is a lot of compliance things that they have to worry about from an IT standpoint. And Gen AI, access control, workload placement, and audit readiness, etc., is very, very vital when you're deploying generative AI. So huge potential, right, of AI. However, there's a lot of challenges that we have to help enterprises with. And really, folks, this is where why we on Broadcom and NVIDIA, we partnered together to produce this fabulous platform called VMware Private AI Foundation with NVIDIA. It really unlocks AI, it gives you like an easy button to deploy AI, right? All of those challenges that you're worrying about, the promise we have is we're going to solve it, right, with this platform, right? So that's where this platform comes in. I'll talk to you a little bit more about this the details of this platform. We'll talk to you about in very shortly. Now, when we launched Private AI, right, with this platform about a couple of years back or so, if you notice that we had 3 layers in here. And so what were the 3 layers, right? As you know, Broadcom has made a great transition, a really transformative journey to have transition everything over to VCF, right, which is our biggest platform at this point. So everything is on the VCF platform. In the middle, you see that yellow layer, right? That's what we call the Private AI services or VCF Private AI services. This gives you all the AI capabilities, which help you deploy AI faster. And now finally, on the top is NVIDIA AI Enterprise. NVIDIA Enterprise gives you all the capabilities to be able to do generative AI very quickly, right? Deploy models. And that's where NVIDIA, our partnership with NVIDIA Enterprise really comes in. When we launched this platform 2 years back or so, we had launched as these separate 3 layers, all still working together, integrated as one platform, right? With literally like 400, 500 people across both the companies partnering together. We launched this as 3 different layers. Customers outside of Europe had to buy an extra SKU called VCF Private AI Services on top, in addition to VMware Cloud Foundation and NVIDIA Enterprise. So there used to be 3 SKUs. That model still exists in Europe. Outside of Europe, what we have done is, as you notice, that yellow layer just became blue, right, in my chart, in my diagram right here. Now VCF Private AI Services comes baked in as part of VMware Cloud Foundation as one SKU. So the simplicity here goes up tremendously. There's a massive cost advantage because guess what? If you have VCF or are already on that journey of buying VCF, guess what? You're going to get all the AI capabilities baked into VCF. So AI native VMware Cloud Foundation is now a fully AI native platform. I think that's the most important thing to understand. So really a big transition. We made that announcement in Explorer, right? At this point, we made that transition fully, right? So at this point, VCF 9.0 and forward, you have this queue already baked into your license, right? So massive, massive benefit. If you already moved on 9.0, assuming that at some point you would evaluate AI, guess what? You've got that license already baked into your VCF license. So huge, huge transformation for enterprises, and it gets you in your AI journey now. Now, since we launched this platform, we've had a strong customer momentum. Close to 80 plus customers have already incorporated VMware Private AI Foundation as part of their license, as part of their as part of their infrastructure. And you can see these big names: NTT Data, Loomis, University of Luxembourg, University of Bristol, United States Federal Credit Union, UT Austin. There's all of these have come out and basically started doing some really, really cool examples. And we'll share with you here a few things. I will share with you a few things here in a minute. Just on each one of these, some of these customer wins. University of Bristol. We just now finished this customer reference study. University of Bristol is one of the UK's leading academic institutions, right? They've really done, they launched this intelligent systems laboratory, right, where AI is baked into now multiple disciplines, and you operate at a, VCF platform across all of University of Bristol, and all different colleges now have this custom AI space that they can bake in across, and then have their own AI journey, right? This thing, as well as, the most importantly, by having private AI spaces, they can do their own AI experiments, generate their own local chatbots for each one of these colleges, as well as basically get like an as a service model for each of these colleges, retaining privacy. Because at the end of the day, like I was mentioning to you, VMware Private AI Foundation within NVIDIA, VMware Private AI is baked into the name, right? So privacy is the most important here that we're giving to customers. Okay. United States Federal Credit Union, this was our very first deployment of private AI, almost 2 years back or so at this point. And United States Federal Credit Union was basically, it's a financial institution for basically Senate and all the Capitol Hill communities in Senate. And here they did something very interesting, right? So they were the first on the AI journey. They wanted to get there very quickly. So what they did was they built this AI space for their entire enterprise, right? So they can get on an AI journey, do experiments, launch services for their end customers. Just a great, great journey for this, for their entire company. Almost 50% of their company is using AI at this point, very, very regularly. 30% use this AI space on a daily basis, right? So it's a pretty exciting thing. They were the first on our first deployment we had more than 2 years back at this point, and they're having some really, really great success building services across their entire company, both internally as well as externally. Now, we're getting a lot of success, right? Like I was saying. However, why are we getting this success? It's pretty important to understand that piece as well. AI, obviously, privacy is a big one, like we mentioned to you, and we give it to you at the industry best cost structure. We're almost 90% lower than comparable public clouds. You know who they are, right? Almost 29% lower than bare metal, right? How are we delivering this phenomenal cost? We're delivering it because VCF is one platform on which you can do AI workloads, non-AI workloads, container workloads. It's your one platform for the entire, all your workloads, right? So AI is just another workload for VCF, right? So when you get AI, when you get VCF, guess what? You're getting speed and agility baked in. You have networking, storage, compute, GPU and architecture. You can virtualize everything, right? So that gives you phenomenal cost. And guess what? You get that one platform. So now you don't actually have to go build each single one of these infrastructures for storage, networking, etc., and compute separately. You have one platform on which you get everything baked in. So the journey is a lot faster from a deployment perspective. Resource sharing is a big one. Like I just alluding a minute back, you get resource sharing, right? Through our the virtualization capabilities, right, that we have baked into our platform. You get great amounts of cost reduction, right? GPUs are expensive, as we know. And guess what? Who else would you want to go for virtualization than the company that invented it, right? We invented it 25 years back, and we just keep getting better and better at it. Centralized operations, that's a big one. So through VCF operations, you have one platform on which you manage all your workloads. You can deploy all your workloads. You can manage all your VMs, containers, etc., just through one workload. And combined is where you get this phenomenal amount of cost reduction, right? So this is why customers are very excited about it, and customers are massively thrilled now when we made that announcement at Explore last year that now we're just baking it into the platform. From a use cases perspective, no journey for AI these days goes without a conversation about agentic AI. So when you do get private AI, guess what? You're already set with baked-in capabilities from an agentic perspective. We have a service called AI Agent Builder, and Darin is going to talk to you about it shortly when we get to his portion of the slides. GPUs as a service, that's a big one, right? So Bristol, United States Federal Credit Union, both of those, like I was mentioning earlier, we have these hot GPUs available that you can basically apportion to each one of these colleges. So guess what? They get great capabilities from an AI standpoint. They get GPUs already ready, and they get this AI infrastructure that they can basically deploy against for all colleges, right? So that's what we call GPU as a service. If customers are looking to do, for example, Jupyter notebooks, models as a service, right? You're just basically trying to get on your AI and your data science journey really fast. This platform gets you there. Doc search and summarization, one of the most basic thing these days from an AI standpoint, right? You want the ability to do large amounts of look through documents, give a good understanding of what these documents are giving you from a summarization standpoint, emails, etc. We give you all of that capabilities through this platform. Content generation, hey, generative AI is all about generating content, right? So you get that, and you get very high quality content, because guess what? We have a partnership with NVIDIA, and through which we get all of these phenomenal capabilities to give you great amounts of this content generation. Whether it's contact centers can get massive amounts of benefits out of AI, because guess what? Customer service journey now basically goes a lot faster, because these contact center agents can now very quickly get to the answers versus searching through hundreds of documents. This platform gets you there. And finally, code generation, right? We've all heard stories about anywhere from 40 to 80% of code generation now moving on to AI, where the developer really gets time to now do quality audits and checks and deploys properly. All of these use cases are now enabled through this platform. But let's think about how we get you there, right? I gave you some idea about why are customers choosing it. But now let's get into the fun stuff, right? All the technical details, right? So we put our capabilities in 3 distinct buckets, is what we call it. Enabling privacy and security. Well, hey, it's baked into our name, right? So we give you a ton of capabilities from a privacy standpoint. Simplify infrastructure management. And that is, again, very closely what I was alluding to earlier, right? VCF gives you the ability to do some great infra management as well. So you get through the ability, you get the abilities to basically not only deploy, but also, day 1, day 2, you get the ability to manage your infrastructure really well. And finally, streamlining model deployment. So this is the one that's the really coolest part of this presentation today. Darin's going to talk a lot about it. What we're doing now is, through this platform, we're baking in a lot of different capabilities. So data scientists and MLOps can now very quickly not only just do infra management and get privacy security for their AI models infrastructure, they can also deploy a lot faster, right? You go back to my first journey, easy button for AI. That's the biggest thing that we're enabling. And this really gets us there. Now, this presentation, like I was talking to you about, is that we present in the beginning. It's about talking to you about the newest capabilities. So that will be the focus for the rest of the meeting, right? But let's talk about some of the newer stuff we have, right? This is the top stuff, right? Model store, right? You get a secure model delivery through a model store, right? So basically through Harbor, you curate and you can now keep these secure LLMs available for deployment. Security patching through NVIDIA Enterprise. This is a pretty big one, right? Continuous monitoring and regular patching for your critical software updates, because this requires a lot of work on you as enterprises. And then when you get the NVIDIA Enterprise license, purchase a SKU that you need to buy, like I'd mentioned earlier, enterprise license you buy, you get security patching already baked into your platform. Cybersecurity with air gap support, that's the fantastic new one that we announced at 9.0. A lot of customers talk to us about the issue that they could not deploy AI workloads in air-gapped environments, and now we're doing that, right? So let's talk about the before and the after, right? So the before this is how it looked before we did this deployment, before we did this capability upgrade. You have NGC catalog, which is basically the catalog from which you can pull down services from NVIDIA Enterprise. And when you were basically doing the deployments, there's something what we call the quick start capability. That quick start capabilities first pulls in all the vGPU drivers. It pulls in the infrastructure elements like the DLVM, catalog objects, and etc., and drops these into on-premises repositories. Right now, when you do get these on-premises repositories, these infrastructure elements automatically do software calls to the NGC catalog as part of the deployment, and that's where the air gapping issue came in. So over the course of almost 6 months of very hardcore development and testing, what we did was we set this to be basically admin controlled, isolated portions in the repository where the admin could now pull the call, do software pulls. There's no more automation, right? So the admin decides and pulls down the right code, drops it into repositories, and from there on, you can basically deploy AI, but now you're doing in a fully air-gapped environment into isolated data and data repositories versus just doing this automatic connection back to the internet. So that's the key difference here. And this is something that customers had been asking us for a while with, and now guess what? You have it. Simplify infra management. So let's start from the bottoms up here, right? No application of AI takes place without a RAG database, right? Without a vector database, right? And be able to do RAG, right? So we already have that capability baked in as part of our licensing. You have that quick start, the one that I was telling you about just a minute back. We have a bunch of infrastructure objects that have to be data scientists and ML ops have to curate, have to prepare from scratch every time a deployment needs to take place. Guess what? We offer that as a blueprint, right? So basically, you get that, press a few buttons, do some configurations, and now you can very quickly set up these complex AI objects, right? And then offer that up as curated objects that you can deploy as and when you need. The big one here is the newest one, I would say, is what we call vGPU manual tracking, right? With vGPU profile visibility. This really reduces the admin time for enterprises. If you think about a complex application, right? Across a complex deployment with 30, 40, 50 GPUs, hundreds of vGPU profiles established, it can get very difficult to manage all of this, right? But what we have done is now we've given the ability through a very easy UI screen for admins to be able to have a full view across of all the vGPUs across the entire GPU footprint in vCenter, and really basically eliminate all this manual tracking of vGPUs that was needing to be done, right? So that's the newest capability, really tremendous improvement for admins, because guess what? Now all the manual tracking stops, right? You get this phenomenal UI screen from which you can just manage your entire vGPU footprint. So with that, I'm going to hand this off to my friend Darin, who's going to talk to you about the coolest set of capabilities today, which is basically the model deployment capabilities. Darin?
Thanks, Shobhit. So I've got a couple of slides and a demo to show what Shobhit's been talking about this whole time, but at a high level, and believe me, I'll go into detail about all of these things on the screen here, but at a high level, I'm going to show what we call the model runtime, which is the core of what that ability that gives you to scale your models, the API gateway, which is a homegrown portion of the solution that is the front end that helps the developers easily take advantage of the models. The data indexing and retrieval service, which Shobhit just talked about, is how we can incorporate RAG, or retrieval augmented generation, into the solution. And last but not least, the thing that pulls it all together that I'll show in detail is the agent builder service, which is what pulls all together the internal data and everything so that you can basically AI enable any apps within your enterprise. And last but not least, as Shobhit kind of talked about, there is the NVIDIA NIMs, and think of those as microservices and containers that you can download that are optimized so you can more efficiently run models on your hardware. So what I'm going to kind of show talk about is how we get those models into production. So think about it this way. You go out to Hugging Face and you find a model that you want to try to use in your environment. Maybe you want to get it from Hugging Face, maybe NVIDIA. What you can do is you can pull that model down into the environment. And with Hugging Face, for example, it's just a git clone. You pull that model down into what we call the deep learning VM, or the DLVM. And on that VM, we have both the NVIDIA NGC CLI and the VCF Private AI CLI, so that you can manipulate these models, do work on them, QA them, test for hallucinations, maybe test for security. And once you've fully QA'd that model, what we can do is we can push that model up to Harbor. Yes, Harbor, what you normally store containers on, right? So what we'll do with our Private AI CLI is basically put a wrapper around that called the OCI wrapper, and use ORAS to take models and safely store them up into Harbor, which gives you the unique ability, like with containers, of versioning. So you can version your models up in Harbor. Now, from there, we can pull that model back down into the model runtime. And in conjunction with the data indexing and retrieval and the agent builder, these all run as containers, as pods in the VKS, in the AI namespace. So all of these basically run to help along with this solution. So as I mentioned, at the heart of this is the API gateway. And what this does is offers three main capabilities. The first capability is that it offers an OpenAI API compatible interface. So developers that are making calls against this, if you're, for example, using a cloud service, maybe ChatGPT, and you're making calls to a model, this allows you to, because this is an industry standard API, it allows you to easily transition any apps from maybe the cloud to back to on-prem. The second capability that the API gateway gives you is secure authentication. So maybe if you're looking at model endpoint 1 and 2, maybe certain users can only use model endpoint 1, maybe marketing uses endpoint 1, maybe the engineering uses endpoint 2. And that basically allows the security of who can contact what. And last but not least, it also does load balancing. So the API gateway can help load, help you scale out your model endpoints in the environment. So if we drill down into the data indexing and retrieval service, the two main parts of this are the knowledge bases and the data sources. So when you feed a data source in, figure it's a Google share or S3 bucket full of PDFs or documents that you want to index for augmenting the knowledge of the LLM, what we will do is we will take that in, we will chunk those PDFs into chunks. We will use what's called an embeddings model to convert those into a numeric format that the LLMs can understand and store that in what we call a vector database. And the vector database is really just a Postgres database with a special plugin called PG Vector, which allows it to store these special vectors that the LLM can understand. So as I said earlier, the agent builder pulls all this together. The agent is what allows you to take your data sources, your knowledge bases, and your models, pull them all together so that you can basically create smart, intelligent answers based upon internal documents to augment what the LLM already knows. And in turn, these agents, again, with some sample code, can be passed off to developers so that they can take that agent and embed it into enterprise apps in your environment to make them AI enabled. So I have a short demo here that I want to show you. So here is the VCF automation screen. As you can see in the bottom left is the private AI tab to bring us to our private AI services. So let's deploy a new model endpoint. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to paste in the URL to Harbor where I'm storing these models. So again, it's just the URL, the project name, the model maker, and the model name, and we can put tags on the end. Again, this is used for version control. I can paste in a description. In this case, BAAI BGE is an embeddings model. This is the model that's going to convert the PDFs and the documents into a numeric form to store in the vector database. So let's say next. Routing name. Let me paste in the routing name. Now this routing name is what the API gateway uses to route any traffic from the API back to the appropriate model. And so if I click on the display name, that just copies it. Now, again, this is just something, how it appears in the GUI. Now, this model, as I said, is an embeddings model. So when I click on this embeddings, you can see the default engine for this, the inference engine that it uses is the Infinity engine. And this is going to basically allow the embeddings to, or the chunking service to embed all the tokens into vectors. So moving along, this as I scroll down, you can also see that there's, you can add flags or overrides if the models need them, but in this case it doesn't. So I'm just going to say next. And at this point in the deployment, we can look and see, and we need to pick a VM class type. And for this one, we can actually use a non-GPU enabled. So this model, because it's small enough, can actually run on CPUs. So in this case, if we look through it, we have a bunch of different t-shirt sizes. So I will pick the best effort medium, which gives it basically 2 vCPUs and 8 gigs of RAM. And last but not least, I'm going to pick the vSAN storage policy and say next. On the final screen, I just review my settings and click deploy model endpoint. Now I've sped this up because normally this takes 5 to 10 minutes, but now our embeddings model is online and it is available. So let's deploy a second type of model, which is called a completions model. So again, I click new model endpoint. I paste in the URL for a completions model. In this case, I'm using the Mistral 7 billion instruct model. And because this model belongs in a secret or belongs in a private registry, I do need to provide a secret. So this is another way that we can control access to the LLMs. So I will specify the secret name. For the description, I'm going to paste in Mistral 7B v2, say next. Once again, give it a routing name. I'm going to paste in the model name. Click to add the display name. And again, this is a completions model. So think about, ChatGPT when you ask it a question. A completions model is basically inference that uses that model to answer questions. So I click completions, and in here, I'm going to select the VLLM engine, which is an open source, a really popular engine out in the marketplace. To do our completions. Again, I don't have to add any arguments or override variables, so I'm just going to say next. And in this case, I do want this particular model to be GPU enabled, so it operates optimally. So with this, I'm going to choose an A100 medium profile, which again gives 16 vCPUs, 28 gigs of memory, and assigns an basically an A100 with 40 gigs of RAM to this particular model. Again, I select the vSAN storage policy, say next, review all of my settings, and hit deploy once again. And so now that we have a completions model and an embeddings model, now we can go to the data indexing and retrieval page. So the first thing I want to do is create a knowledge base. So I'm going to click on knowledge base. I want to paste in memory tiering. So I want to create a knowledge base that has specific internal knowledge about how VCF memory tiering works, so that maybe a customer service rep can answer questions about memory tiering. Now, for the knowledge base type, I have two things I can choose: create from a data source, which you can specify a Google share or an S3 bucket. Our engineering has tested over 100,000, indexing over 100,000 items at a time. But just to keep this demo super simple, I am going to basically say create from local files and say create. And as I just said, I created the knowledge base itself. Now I need to do the indexing settings. So previously we created the embeddings model and named it BAI BGE. So now I'm going to specify chunk size 200. This is grabbing 200 tokens at a time of the content in the PDF or the documents. And I'm also specifying an overlap. So if there's a thought at the end of that 200 chunk that you want, that is kind of split between two chunks, this overlap helps keep the thoughts basically together. So I'm going to click that, or I'm going to click Save Settings. And last but not least, I need to add those local files. So I'm going to click Add. I'll say Browse. I'm going to choose this memory tiering over NVMe PDF. I'll upload that and hit close. And this is going to start basically indexing that PDF, putting it into the vector database so that the LLM can use it. And now we can move on to building our agent. So when I click on the agents section, I click create agent. And for the name, I'm going to basically click paste in internal product information. That's what I want this agent to be called. I will select the model endpoint that we created earlier, so the Mistral instruct model. And from here, I'm going to enable data indexing retrieval, which again, as Shobhit said, is our basically RAG, or retrieval augmented generation. I will select the knowledge base that we just created, dedicated to the memory tiering knowledge. Chunks to receive. So I'm going to add 500 to that. So that's, as it's going through the vector database, it's going to grab 500 chunks of those 200 tokens apiece so that it has a good amount of context for answering questions. And then last but not least, I'm going to put the similarity cutoff to 1. Now, this is any value between 0 and 1, so it could be 0.5, 0.75, 0 basically saying, hey, look, I'll take anything, and 1 being, I really want it super relevant to be added in. And then the final setting here I want to add is the data references. So I want to append those as markdown. And then I'm going to paste in 1,000 for our chat history, so that it's going to keep 1,000 characters to keep the answers a little bit more relevant. I'm going to say create to create our agent. And now that this agent is created, look over on the right-hand side. We have the playground. Now, the playground isn't something that you'd give to a customer service rep or anything. The playground is really just an area that you can test this model to make sure that it's answering questions correctly. So I'm going to give it a question. I'm going to type in, what is VMware memory tiering? And I'm going to hit send. And what this is going to do is it's going to go out to that vector database, find the relevant portions of text from that PDF I fed it earlier, and feed that as context back to the LLM, to the Mistral LLM, which is going to take that context, form it, and create an answer out of it. So really that's what you're seeing, is a really focused answer that's based upon internal knowledge. Because remember, the Mistral model in this case, it probably has no idea anything about memory tiering, because again, this is an internal document that as Mistral was trained, has no idea that that even existed. So let me quick flick back to my slides. I've got 2 more slides and I can hand it back to Shobhit. So let's talk about additional capabilities through the VCF platform itself. So if we look at VMware VCF automation, the key to this is that it offers multi-tenancy for enterprises and CSPs. So think about, you have a marketing department who can have its own private AI instance, an engineering department who can have its own private AI instance. This really allows, the businesses to meet the full needs of all the divisions and whatnot. And last but not least, in addition, there is the basically VCF operations, which provides some dashboards for monitoring your GPUs, vGPUs, hosts, clusters, and whatnot. So importantly, because you've made a lot of investments in GPUs, this allows you to see if they're overused, underused, and really help you optimize your environment. And with that, I'm going to turn this back over to Shobhit so he can give you the sneak peek into all the new innovations coming soon. Shobhit?
Well, thanks, Darin. Great presentation, great demo. This really takes us to the last portion of this presentation today. Sneak peek into exciting stuff that's coming soon. So first things first, we're going to support, as of Explore last year, we're already supporting the Blackwell NVIDIA RTX Pro 6000 servers. Like, this is basically the latest servers that GPUs that NVIDIA supports, and from compute density and the scale that data centers need, right? RTX Pro 6000 really gives you that fantastic performance, right? The key, most important thing here is to understand is, as of last year, we are fully supporting NVIDIA's latest GPUs, right? The NVIDIA HGX B200, that's coming very soon as well, which is basically now really takes us to very, very fast speed, GPUs for, your most demanding AI, data analytics, and, high speed performance and computing HPC workloads, right? This is 15 times a faster inference performance, right? And with almost 1/12 the cost, right, than the previous generation, right? So Blackwell really takes NVIDIA to the next generation, right, in really, really terrific performance. And we're right next to NVIDIA in all the latest, greatest GPUs that they're offering. This platform now supports. So this is a really cool one, right? This platform now supports direct path enablement, right, for accelerated computing. So what that means is, sorry, just one sec. Your screen shifted a little. Yeah, this capability really provides a very fast, a very simpler infrastructure path, right, for how enterprises initiate and scale your AI projects, right? And it minimizes the required licensing that you need, right? So without taking basically NVIDIA Enterprise license, also you can now do this direct path enablement, right? Gives you exclusive GPU access, right? So as part of the platform, virtualization is a big piece. But if customers really just want, dedicated GPUs, right, to dedicate the signal to a single VP to a single VM, right? Now you can also go do that as part of this. We will be able to do that actually in the future. Sorry, there's a sneak peek through this direct path enablement, right? So whether it's a direct path, basically dedicating an entire VM, right? Now you can enable that through this capability when this capability is launched. Sorry, this is a sneak peek, not supported right now. And now AI Agent Builder, like we already talked about it, right? That's no conversation about AI these days happens without agents, right? But agents, as they are getting faster, there's a massive desire in the industry right now for these agents to be able to do a lot of different capabilities, connect to a lot of external agents, be able to connect into ServiceNow and do ticketing and a whole bunch of different things. So that desire of connecting AI agents, right, to all of these external services, that's what Model Context Protocol offers, right? And it's an industry standard, came out, I want to say like 25 or January or December 24. So it's pretty hot out there right now. And as part of our next release, right, or in a future release, we will also support MCP as part of this platform, right? So you can get all these phenomenal capabilities, right, and connect your agents to all of these different external tools and repositories. There is also, I mean, surprise, surprise, right? AI models and AI models, and as well as AI needs of enterprises are getting very complex. There is a big desire today, right, to have very, very fast speed models, right? Very high speed models with top level performance, the ability to take models and put them on different, split up model capabilities into different hosts, right? And still maintain all the fantastic speed. What this capability, when it's released, what it will do is through basically NVIDIA Bluefield 3, right, and NVIDIA Connect X7 Smart NIC, you're going to be able to connect two different hosts, take a model, right, split it up into two different hosts, right, and then do even more faster parallel speed computing, like really taking the speed and the performance to a different level by giving this multi-node capability through this next upgrade that we will release, right? So if you think about the current environment where the needs from AI models is now getting bigger and bigger and bigger, that's what we're enabling through this capability when it launches, right? Multi-node AI. And Blackwell GPUs and NVSwitch. NVSwitch obviously is now technology that's been around for a few years now. Combined, if you think about the capability I was just telling you about from the standpoint of multi-node architecture, as well as the ability to do Blackwell GPUs with NVSwitch. So now you can have a whole bunch of these NV switches connected to each other, right? So the GPU to GPU information transfer becomes really, really fast. So you can think about really massive scale models, right, can now operate with very low latency because of the speed that this all enables, right? So in one of our future releases, we'll also support this EdgeX platform with Blackwell GPUs and NVSwitch, right? So that's going to be now taking performance to the next level from an AI deployment standpoint. And with that, I'm going to give you a quick summary of the platform, right? We talked a lot to you about capabilities, right? Let's just step back for 1 second. What do we give you from this platform? We give you the ability to basically do on-premises private AI, right? We give you a ton of capabilities to enable privacy security, give you the ability to do basically make AI easy, right? Through easy infrastructure deployment, management, day 0, day 1, day 2, and the ability to do model deployment really fast as well, right? So the streamlining of that model deployment process, which can be pretty manual for data scientists and MLOps, now is very, very, very quickly automated now, right? Through these model deployment capabilities. And there's a quick swath of some of the capabilities that I just talked to you about, both me and Darin just now talked to you about. I'll leave you that as a takeaway. And in the end, we'll leave you with a few more blogs, etc., that you can go dig in deep and read even more detail into this than what the stuff we just shared with you about. And there's a contact form here. Just if you just scan this barcode and just if you're interested in talking to us, right, more about AI deployments in your enterprise, please scan this barcode and fill in a very short form, and one of our experts will get in touch with you.